While a small country geographically, Singapore has significantly greater importance than its size would suggest due to its location, economic power, and foreign policy. Not threatened by the surrounding ASEAN nations and with good relations with China, India, Australia, and the US, Singapore's security environment is relatively benign. Its national interests are in preserving and increasing the prosperity and well-being of the state and maintaining stability in its region. Singapore plays a key role in the region, not just within ASEAN, but further afield into East Asia, South Asia, and Oceania. Within this regional stability role is Singapore's support and contribution to the Five Power Defence Arrangements, or FPDA. Comprising Singapore, Malaysia, Australia, New Zealand, and the UK, for Singapore, a key consideration is assisting in the defence of the Malaysian Peninsula, not least because this is a critical component of Singapore's water supply. To defend Singapore and contribute to regional stability, the Singapore Armed Forces, or Angkatan Bersenjata Singapura, or the Sianjak-Po Wujuang Butuai, has evolved into the most capable and technologically sophisticated military in Southeast Asia. This briefing will examine the Singapore Armed Forces role, organisation and equipment. I'll begin with a brief discussion on the likely areas of operation, then discuss the Republic of Singapore Air Force, Republic of Singapore Navy, Singapore Army, and finally the Digital and Intelligence Service. G'day and salutations. Today's briefing, Singapore Armed Forces, a prickly target. This briefing was suggested by a subscriber. Singapore sits at a very strategic geographic location at the nexus of the Malacca Strait and the South China Sea. These waterways are not only critical for Singapore, but also for global trade. Although not a claimant to the area, the safe passage of trade through the South China Sea is important for Singapore. As mentioned, Singapore is surrounded by ASEAN states with whom it has good relations, although this hasn't always been the case. In particular amongst ASEAN states is Malaysia. A key defence consideration for Singapore is assisting Malaysia, in particular defending the Malaysian Peninsula under the FPDA. While this is an unlikely scenario, it is the most critical scenario for Singapore should it occur. In addition to these considerations, Singapore will also want some conventional capability that can contribute to allies and friends in other situations. Perhaps the most visible image of Singapore Armed Forces capability is the Republic of Singapore Air Force, or RSAF, and within this, the F-15E Strike Eagles. Known as the F-15SG in Singaporean service, it is a two-seat, all-weather, long-range strike and ground attack aircraft, but also very capable in air-to-air warfare. The RSAF has 2 squadrons of F-15SGs, which can be air-refuelled to extend range. Complementing the F-15SGs is the F-16 family, which includes 2 squadrons of D and C models, including the Block 52 Plus variant. It is the RSAF's primary air defence aircraft, but also very capable in surface strike and ISR missions. They can also be air-refuelled by RSAF assets. These are to be joined by F-35A and B Lightning II stealth fighters in the next few years. Apart from the fixed-wing combat aircraft, the RSAF also operates all of the Singapore Armed Forces rotary-winged assets. Fire support for the ground force is provided by the AH-64D Longbow attack helicopters, and anti-submarine warfare support for the Navy by the S-70B Seahawks. Together with these combat helicopters, the RSAF also operates a large number of transport helicopters, mainly the CH-47 Chinook and AS-332M Super Puma families, but also the larger H-225M. Previously known as the Eurocopter EC-725 Caracol, it is a long-range tactical transport military helicopter developed from the Eurocopter AS-532 Cougar, which Singapore also operates. It is used for troop transport, casualty evacuation, and combat search and rescue missions. For ISR missions, the RSAF operates a number of UAVs, including the Heron, a medium-altitude, long-endurance UAV with an endurance of up to 52 hours, depending on payload, and an operating altitude of 10,500 metres or 35,000 feet. Also part of the ISR capability are the G550 Airborne Early Warning and Control aircraft. The G550 adopts a conformal antenna array rather than the more common dish, balance beam or top hat approaches. The other element of the Air Force combat enablers is the airborne refuelling capability, the most capable of which are the Airbus A330 MRTT or multi-role tanker transports. These have good fuel offload capability at long range and can be utilised for dedicated transport missions. The MRTTs are augmented by KC-130 tankers, which can also act as transport aircraft, supporting the dedicated C-130 transport aircraft. Finally, for the RSAF are the F-50 maritime patrol aircraft. They're not as capable as other maritime patrol aircraft found in the region, including the P-3C Orion and P-8 Poseidon. They provide enough capability for Singapore's more limited requirements. Note the RSAF also operates transport versions of the F-50. The RSAF also operates the Singapore Armed Forces surface-to-air missile systems. The longest range of these are the SAMPT, which are the land-based version of the Franco-Italian Aster 30. Capable of engaging tactical ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, as well as aircraft, it has a range of 120 kilometres and an altitude of around 20 kilometres. These are augmented by the Israeli Spider SR, which utilises the Python 5 missile, and the Mistral RBS-70 and 9K-38 Igla manpads. Interestingly, Singapore does not employ the Patriot SAM system. In terms of number of aircraft that the RSAF comprises, fixed-wing combat aircraft, 40 of the F-15 SGs, 40 of the F-16Ds, which included the Block 52 and Block 52 Plus, 20 F-16Cs, and in the future, 8 F-35A and 12 F-35Bs. In terms of helicopters, 19 of the AH-64 Apache Longbows, 40 S-70B Seahawk anti-submarine warfare helicopters, 21 of the CH-47 family medium-lift helicopters, 5 H-225Ms, 18 AS-332M Super Pumas, and 12 AS-532 ULs. For UAVs, it consists of around 8 Heron and 9 Hermes 450s. Enablers comprised 4 G550 airborne early warning and control aircraft, 6 Airbus A330 multi-role tanker aircraft, and 5 KC-130 tankers. These are joined by 5 dedicated C-130 transport and 4 F-50 transport aircraft. For maritime patrol, it consists of 5 F-50s. In terms of surface-to-air missile systems, the SAMPT, Spider SR, Mistral RBS-70 and the 9K-38 Iglas. In terms of air-launched weapons, air-to-air weapons include the AM-9 family, Python 4 and Python 5, and the AM-120 AMRAAM. For air-to-ground, the AGM-65, AGM-114, and the AGM-154. And for maritime targets, the AGM-84 Harpoon, AM-39 Exocet, and air-launched torpedoes. Moving to the Navy, the RSN, or Republic of Singapore Navy, is a small force but operates a reasonable number of very capable small vessels. Its role is to protect Singapore's sea lines of communications, provide continual surveillance of the Singapore Strait and environs, participate in the Malacca Straits Patrol, and support for the ground force. One of the Navy's most potent capabilities are the conventionally powered submarines. The SSA capability currently comprises 2 Archer and 2 Challenger class, all former Swedish boats. These are being replaced by new build Invincible class. In terms of the surface fleet, the most capable vessels are the Formidable class multi-role stealth frigates. With a length of 115 metres and displacement of 3,200 tonnes, they are equipped with a 76mm gun, Harpoon anti-ship missiles, VLS cells for the Aster 15 and 30 SAMs, lightweight torpedo tubes, and an S-370B Seahawk helicopter. These are joined by the Independence-class littoral mission vessels, which are corvette-sized with a length of 80 metres and a displacement of 1,200 tonnes. They are equipped with a 76mm gun and 12 VLS cells for the Mica short-range SAM system, and a helicopter deck, but no hangar. The LMV is also equipped with a stern slipway for the launch and recovery of rigid-hull inflatable boats. The third surface combatant is the Victory-class corvette, but at a length of 62 metres and a displacement of 600 tonnes, they are more accurately described as patrol craft guided missile. They are equipped with a 76mm gun, 8 Harpoon anti-ship missiles, and 16 VLS cells for the Israeli Barak SAM system. These are to be replaced by new multi-role combat vessels, which are to be significantly larger and more capable. Just as the RSAF has a role in transporting the ground force, the RSN also does, with the capability being delivered by way of the Endurance-class landing ship tank, although more accurately described as landing pad docks. At 141 metres in length and a displacement of around 8,500 tonnes, they can transport 18 tanks, 20 armoured vehicles and up to 500 troops, and deploy them via 4 landing craft on davits and 2 landing craft in the well dock. In terms of numbers, the RSN comprises 4 SSKs, soon to be all the Invincible class, 6 Formidable class frigates, 8 Independence class littoral manoeuvre vessels, 6 Victory class corvettes, which to be replaced by the 6 multi-role combat vessels, and 4 Endurance class landing ship tanks. Moving to the ground force, Singapore's army is unsurprisingly the largest of the Singapore's services and is equipped with an array of armoured vehicles and artillery systems. In terms of armoured vehicles, the most conspicuous is likely the Leopard 2 SG main battle tank. These are the Leopard A4 variant, upgraded with advanced armour modular protection and an active protection system. Supporting the main battle tanks are the infantry fighting vehicles, the newest and most capable of which are the Hunter armoured fighting vehicles, being delivered in troop carrier, command and recovery variants. Weighing 29.5 tonnes, they are armed with a 30mm gun and Spike anti-tank guided missiles in a remote control turret and can carry 8 dismounts. The Hunters will replace the ageing M113A2 Ultra tracked armoured personnel carriers which have been in service since the 1970s and will complement the smaller Bionics infantry fighting vehicles. Joining these tracked IFVs are the wheeled variants, with the newest being the Terex infantry carrier vehicle. Weighing 25 tonnes, they are armed with a 40mm automatic grenade launcher. Supporting the armoured vehicles with FIRE's capabilities is the HIMARS multiple launch rocket system. Note, Singapore does not use the ATACMS missile on its HIMARS. The MLRS are joined by the tracked self-propelled 155mm guns in the form of the SSPH-1 Primus. Likely the lightest tracked 155mm self-propelled gun in service, it weighs in at 28.3 tonnes. In terms of equipment then, the Army operates over 100 Leopard 2 SGs, around 650 infantry fighting vehicles comprising 250 Bionics 2s, 250 Bionics 4050s, over 100 Hunter armoured fighting vehicles, and around 50 M113A2 Ultras. And APCs, around 1,235, including 700 M113A1 and A2s, around 400 ATC Broncos, and over 135 Terex infantry fighting vehicles. In terms of artillery, there are 18 M142 HIMARS multiple launch rocket systems, and over 140 155mm guns, including 54 self-propelled SSPH-1 Primus, 18 FH-2000, 18 Pegasus and 52 FH-88 towed artillery pieces. Around 90 self-propelled 120mm mortars and anti-tank guided missiles comprising the Milan, Spike short range and the Spike medium range. Looking at the size and structure of the Singaporean Army, in terms of personnel, the permanent force of 40,000, which includes 26,000 conscripts with reserves of 240,000. The combat and combat support battalions in the regular force include 1 tank battalion, 3 armoured infantry battalions, 6 mechanised infantry battalions, 2 infantry battalions, guards, 1 commando battalion, 2 artillery battalions, 2 engineer battalions, and 3 signals battalions. On mobilisation, this can form 4 armoured brigades, 9 infantry brigades, 1 air mobile brigade, and an amphibious brigade. Finally, in 2022, the Singapore Armed Forces introduced a new 4th service, the Digital and Intelligence Service. The DIS is responsible for providing military intelligence to the armed forces, building up the country's digital defence capabilities, and protecting military personnel from psychological operations. The service then covers joint intelligence, including imagery, command, control, communications and computers capabilities, and electronic protection, including cybersecurity. Note, Singapore has an ISR satellite capability, the DSSAR, which carries a synthetic aperture radar imaging payload capable of taking images under all weather conditions. In summary, while the Singapore Armed Forces doesn't have a long history in and of itself, it has developed into a very capable and technologically advanced regional force. But it's not just the quality and quantity of equipment that the Singapore Air Force has that make it very capable. It is also the level of training it undertakes with other countries, in particular the US and Australia. Guided by its geography and demographics, and the missions required of it, the Singapore Armed Forces has developed into a large conscript-focused ground force on mobilisation for national defence, together with smaller, more professionally based naval and air forces with some long-range strike capabilities. This ability to reach out and touch an enemy some distance could provide a valuable contribution to coalition efforts. But Singapore, through its words and actions, has displayed a serious lack of intent to use kinetic force, and it is unlikely this will change anytime soon unless Singapore itself is threatened. While it has no strategic depth, Singapore's geostrategic circumstances are favourable with no clear and present threat. Is this likely to change in the near term? That concludes today's briefing. Thank you for watching. Happy to take suggestions for future briefings from subscribers, so please subscribe, like and share. Until next time, Vale de Cero.